Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 355, Prepare for War. So, what's been going on in the world? Well, I haven't posted in a while, but the whole coronavirus pandemic and all sorts of shutdowns, quarantines, and they're not allowing people to operate their normal lives. And it's taking a heavy toll on all sorts of financial markets, all sorts of people's mental health, and all sorts of people's idea of liberty. And so, the world is actually coming undone right now, and the World Health Organization, the CDC, the NIH are all saying we have to stay clamped down for more and more and more months until we get a vaccine. So I said before, I think it was Corona fascism that I talked about. They already have their idea of what they're going to sell the world to, and they just have to wait until they actually get it to market. They have to play this out further. And so 2 more months. I don't know if our country can survive 2 more months of lockdown because what's happened? What's happened in today? Oil prices actually inverted. So people buy oil on futures contracts, and when the future contract comes up, they need to find a buyer of the contract, and hopefully they make money on it. Well, what happened today? They found no buyers of any of the oil in the futures contract, and the oil price per barrel went negative. It actually went to negative $37 a barrel. Typically, like a healthy oil market, oil's 50 to $70 a barrel. In the crisis of 2008, it actually went over $100 a barrel. So oil is negative, meaning they have hundreds of millions of barrels of oil they can't get rid of. And so, what are you going to do with all that oil? Well, they're going to have to, I don't know, dump it in the ocean? Probably not, but probably governments will take it up, buy it, or who knows what's going to happen. But they don't even have the storage capacity for it because oil demand has dropped off so much. Well, anyway, economies are dependent upon energy sources, particularly like Saudi Arabia, Middle Eastern countries, Venezuela, Russia, and so on and so forth. Any countries that are heavily dependent upon oil markets are kind of in big trouble right now. The other thing that's happened is in the COVID meat markets, that COVID's entered all these kill plants. JBS has a cattle plant that shut down and a pork plant that shut down. Tyson has another pork plant that shut down. And therefore, what's happening is the animals aren't coming to slaughter, which means that the meat market's drying up. So the price of meat to the farmer is just plummeting dramatically, but the price of meat in the store, because there's kind of a scarcity, it's going up dramatically. And so you have less meat in the pipeline, and the farmers are going to have to start euthanizing their hogs soon. And what are they going to do with all that euthanized meat? They're going to have to just let it rot or turn into dog food or something like that, which is a major problem. So people are getting hungrier. The other thing is, I don't know if you know this, but the federal government and the CDC, the governors, like in all the executive branches and bureaucrats that are running this whole COVID response, they haven't made a single law with regards to it. This is all suggestion, right? It's all just recommendation and edict. Problem is we're Americans, and no government can actually suddenly change the law on their own. No executive can do that for sure. Executive's the enforcer of the law, but they can't change the law overnight. And what they've essentially done is suspended the entire United States Constitution, and people are starting to feel it. And so there's people that are starting to storm the state capitals, like actually running up to the state capitals. They're heavily armed. They have assault rifles and so on and so forth. And people are angry, and rightfully so, because the governors of these states have literally taken away all sorts of their individual personal rights, which they don't have the capacity to do. It doesn't even matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter if it's pandemic. It doesn't matter if it's war. It doesn't mean, like back in the Civil War, Lincoln tried to suspend habeas corpus and started arresting all sorts of journalists. Well, the Supreme Court said under no circumstance, the law is the law, it stands. And so the President of the United States of America was actually slapped by the Supreme Court in a time of war. Well, here we are not in a time of war. All we have is this tiny little pandemic, which we're not even certain is that bad yet, honestly. And we are suspending all sorts of individual liberties, and people are getting mad. So combine this, people getting mad, they're storming state houses, firearms, food shortages are coming for sure. And oh, by the way, what happened? They found out that the virus, the guy that won the Nobel Prize for discovering HIV, is probably from a lab, which means it was created by humans and probably was created in Wuhan, China. And so people are starting to get really mad at China. And in the German newspaper Bild today, the commentary was that China owes Germany at least 149 billion euro in retribution, because what China did was they would not allow it to spread in their own countries, but they allowed all the international flights to keep leaving Wuhan, which means that China purposely spread it to the rest of the world, and it's creating economic havoc and catastrophe. Now, how does Germany actually, do you think China's going to pay up the 149 billion euro? No, they're not. But Germany actually has a capacity to do something about it because Germany controls a lot of the foreign investments of China. Essentially, they could say, "Well, we're not paying you back. Yeah, you bought our debt, you bought our national debt." And you're not getting it back just to pay for the reparations from the Wuhan virus that you guys imparted on the rest of the world. Same can be said of America, right? You have like trillions of dollars of U.S. treasuries that are sold like the Chinese own, and I'm quite certain they're not getting those suckers back because nobody's going to be a buyer after this. And the fact of the matter is, when nationalism rises and people get angry, they're going to demand that retribution occur. And so the beginning of this video, I said, prepare for war. And I want to talk about an historical event, by the way, because right now the world is an absolute tinderbox, absolute tinderbox. So in World War I, is it June 28th, 1914, Gavrilo Princip, the Serbian nationalist, he assassinated Archduke Ferdinand and his wife. And then within 5 to 6 weeks, the English moved troops into France and the war had begun. It really didn't take much. It takes a small little, somebody getting assassinated. I mean, could you imagine if a major political figure ends up dead or assassinated in this time of crises? I think that would be a major, major, major problem. And so you just need one crazy and you can ignite and spark an entire war that can engulf the entire planet. So anyway, prepare for war. How do you prepare for war? Well, you're not allowed to go to Mass because the Catholic Church shut all those things down. But you got to live a prayer life. You got to live a sacramental life. You got to be introspective. And you got to be able to get to the sacraments every now and then. And so befriend a priest. Talk to priests. Perhaps you can actually find one that will help you out in this time of crises. Is there anything else I wanted to say? Oh, I guess I just wanted to say that the world is in a place it's never been before. And it's insanity. I mean, there's probably less than 100 United States politicians and bureaucrats that stole the wealth of over a third of our population. If you don't think retribution's coming to them, this is going to be a major problem. Any incumbent that participated in this process is probably going to be flambéed in the fall. I suspect so. Well, anyway, the other thing I saw was Biden can't even talk anymore. I mean, his brain is not working. I heard he was demented, but boy, I saw him say something the other day, and he can't articulate two ideas together. And so how is he going to survive a campaign and debates with Donald Trump? He can't. So he's going to have to find a way out of this. Perhaps the DNC is going to figure out how to cancel all the debates and just put him up there like Weekend at Bernie's. But I did hear today he said he would be super happy if Michelle Obama ran with him. And so the Obamas are needling their way back into the American political system. Michelle Obama is essentially her qualification is the wife of a U.S. president. She's a Harvard lawyer. But if you're an internationalist, if you're a globalist, and you were created as a globalist from youth, anybody can go to Harvard. If you're a nationalist like myself, you can't go to Harvard. It's impossible because Harvard is how you get nationalists into the system because it's an international organization. It's a global organization. And so Michelle Obama, this is my prediction, by the way. You ready? So Joe Biden is going to run with Michelle Obama as a running mate. I thought it was going to be Andrew Cuomo. I don't think so now. And what's going to happen is Biden's going to have to step down for some medical reason. This is so predictable, it's ridiculous. Michelle Obama's going to step up, and then she's going to take Kamala Harris or one of the other cronies that ran in the Democratic primaries, and then there'll be a two-woman campaign, two minorities, and then the Democrats think they're going to beat Donald Trump. I don't know how they can beat Donald Trump, but you can't predict the world. Who on earth ever thought that oil was going to negative $37 a barrel? I don't think that's ever happened in the history of mankind. And so anyway, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, and pray the Daily Rosary. And God bless you all. Take care.